So I'm going to start off this story with a girl YouTuber who recently quit because of harassment. So one day I was on Twitter and I just came across this thread of this guy making fun of this girl for talking about cork head dolls. And of course I was like, you're weird. You're a grown man making fun of a 18-year-old to get a job. And then, so I went to her page and I was like, hey, people are making this thread about you, but I think your video is really good and you should keep it up. Anyway, she saw the thread. It got like 20,000 likes. She had hundreds of people calling her an idiot and she felt bad about it. And then later she kind of got scared of talking about stuff and sharing her opinion online because she didn't want another viral thread. When you're just first starting out and you have viral threads calling you an idiot, most people don't want to deal with that. Anyway, so months go by, she stopped doing video essays, even though she enjoyed them because she didn't want to face backlash for her opinions. And they weren't even controversial opinions. It was about cork head dolls. I don't even know what that is. Like, I think regular people who just like watch content don't really understand that there is a great filter. The reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of people don't understand that there's a great filter for the stuff that you see online. Like, one, it takes a type of person to make that content. And then two, it takes a type of person to keep making that content, even though a lot of people are calling them dumb, stupid, and mad at them. The reason I bring this up is because there's a really large disconnect between what the internet says women are like and what women are like in real life. This is controversial, don't care. The women who often get platforms are not really representative of women in real life. Like, I talked about this in my Tradwife video. Pearl has a bigger platform than most women creators, and she doesn't represent conservative or leftist or communist or whatever types of women. Like, she's not representative. That great filter just stops so many voices. Just like that girl who started her video essays and she stopped because of harassment. So many opinions, thoughts, and what people think and really want to say, that great filter just stops it. And I think this is important because in my videos, I always have people try to push back and be like, I'm a woman and I speak for all women. I have to be like, no, you don't. I have plenty of women in my comments who don't think like that. So here's one. My most controversial video is where I say, you shouldn't date a broke man. In general, man, woman, you shouldn't date a broke person. Now, this pisses people off because online political people are very sensitive, but this is where that great filter comes in. If you are a woman and you actively say that, even if you're a leftist, even if you're a communist woman, you will get ran off of those platforms. You will not be able to say that openly, publicly. Like I know a lot of leftist women who secretly love masculine men, like strong guys who like hunt or go in the wilderness, and they can't say that publicly because they know that there will be backlash. Again, that great filter. And so a lot of opinions that real life people have that are normal to have are just never said on the internet because of that great filter. I think that's difficult for people to understand. You are asking somebody, hey, here's 10,000 people calling you the worst names imaginable, and you are asking that of them. And, I would say you should go for it. I go for it. I have people call me names all the time, but you should go for it. But the type of person who's going to do that, you're self-selecting. Again, most people just don't want to deal with the drama. And here's a hotter take. I know plenty of women who do not like bisexual men, and they will never say it out loud. You will never, I rarely see women who have platforms say that out loud, but it's like a fact. Everybody knows it. And there's a whole lot of conversation. I'm not going to deal with that. But just like that, like it's not representative because they know the backlash that they'll get from left men and right wing. And then they'll have women even call them like homo. Like it's not going to happen. The same way, like if a girl says, I care about money. No, actually, that's not progressive. Like, again, great filter. Boom, you're bully. They stop. They just shut up. That's why I try to share different perspectives in my videos of women and other people and other minorities. Because I think even if I don't agree with the opinion, I think that it should still be shared. It should still have a platform to be discussed, to be talked about. And I don't feel like it's my job to be like, all women feel this way. So like, for instance, I'm going to make a main video about this, I think. In my man versus bear video, I had a lot of women like, no, women don't feel this way. All women would pick the bear. And I'm like, that's not true. Many women are not picking the bear. Like, you don't have to say, like, you can just speak for yourself. You don't have to like monolize women. Like, you can just be yourself. And they would get mad about that in my comments. I'm like, you don't speak for everyone. I have women. I literally did a poll where like 35% of women said that they're just being hypothetical and wouldn't actually choose the bear. Like, it's just data. Like, but again, it's like, no, those women aren't allowed to speak. The only women who are allowed to speak are the women who agree with me. So again, that great filter, fuck off. You're not allowed to have your opinion. People just don't want to deal with that. And it's a real problem because their voices are not heard, because they're silenced by this great filter. it creates weird dynamics of like things that people say women want. Like, again, here goes another one. Women only care about personality. No, they don't. Plenty of women want a hot boyfriend, and that's perfectly fine. That great filter, you're never getting it. If a woman comes on here and says she wants a guy who's 6 feet tall, she's going to be ran off of every single platform she talks about that on. Her comments are going to be flooded. No one's going to want to go through that. So realistically, the conversations are only happening in private and group chats and discords that other likewise women are having. It's not happening on the public internet. And then the very few women who pop up or come through that great filter, if everybody feels like their opinion on things is representative of every other single woman, and it's just so annoying. And I know that this is not just women, this is like Black people, LGBT people, etc. Like, it's like for Black people, it's even worse. There was a girl on Twitter who was like, I don't know, we're not like white people. We never made fun of special ed people in the hood. Like, come on, we would never do that. And again, the great filter, a lot of Black people aren't on these platforms who are in the hood. They just don't have access or internet or anything. Like, that's a real thing. Like, so you get suburban tweets from people who never been in the projects saying stuff that hood people don't really believe. Yes, as a person who was hood adjacent, they made fun of gay people. They made fun of people who were not the best, who had autism or every other thing. Like, that's a thing that happens. But again, that great filter, the one Black person who's a suburban gets through. I'm going to speak for all Black people. It's just so annoying.
Let's take some time to really unpack this. You guys were mad at people, Black people, because they were saying that they tired of being in the hood or scared of being in the hood. Honey, I'm scared of being rats, roaches, and having 1 or 2 pairs of Mary jeans but living in poverty. I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but I personally will not be in the hood, especially at night, especially with that situation that just went down where the 2 young women were just for rejecting a man. Now, how many times do you walk down the street and a man tries to catcall you and try to get your number? How many times? Because as a attractive young woman, hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times in my lifetime that I've been catcalled by a man, and it's scary. It's scary. Now imagine that happening and that going down in the hood.
I'm going to tempt fate here again and maybe get canceled, but most famous Black people on social media and other platforms who have voices are suburban Black people who've barely been to the hood, barely been around hood culture, but still glamorize it. So if you come on here and you say that you don't like the hood, that you think it's ghetto and people need to stop, you're going to be looked at sideways and people are going to hate you. Even though like most people in the hood don't want to be there. As soon as they get money, they leave. That's just true. As somebody who's hood adjacent, who has hood friends, all of them left and never came back. Nobody wants to be there who's in a hood unless you're a crash out. You can't say that on social media. You can't have that conversation because the great filter, suburban Black people, if you're in a hood, you probably don't have the money, the time, the access to build a platform, to build a social media platform. So the people who do, especially on YouTube, are suburban Black people. I know that people don't want to talk about that, but it is what it is. And that even goes back to like, being comfortable saying certain things, that there's a deeper conversation to have about like what kind of creator is allowed by like a broad audience, a white audience. And there's like, it's most likely not going to be hood people unless they're making fun of other hood people. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Lastly, I forgot about this, but men have no problems with like filtering themselves. Like men on podcasts say they want to date a big woman all the time. And like they get yelled at, but like not really canceled. Like they still have a fan base. They're not ran out of here. Let a woman come on a podcast and say she doesn't like a bisexual man. She has 30 seconds tops. They'll have 55 Reddit threads, left, right men, everybody coming at her. She's going to be dogpiled. It's over. And that gets into a deeper conversation about like how audience tolerance to different creators and messaging. But I'm not going to do all of that today. Anyway,